All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Heath Patton, Chair of the Traffic and Transportation Commission, and at this moment would like to get our meeting underway. Could we do Commissioner roll call, please? Roll call. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Pashai?
Here.
Commissioner Sperling-Reich?
Here.
Vice Chair Castle?
Here.
Chair Patton?
Here.
And Student Commissioner Goldfarb?
Here.
Thank you.
Yay, wonderful. So, Mike, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah, please. Thank you. Oh, okay. No problem.
Okay, face the flag, right hand over your heart, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
First.
A second? Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. We will go to announcements next. Do we have any announcements from staff, commissioners, students?
Do we want to?
Thanks, Treya. So we should make an announcement. Yes, it's from the staff level. So it's with, kind of heavy hearts that we say that Tatiana's left the city. She's taken a job somewhere else with another agency. She will be missed. She was really reliable. I think you all worked with her for several years, and I had the pleasure of working with her for almost a year and a half, and she was wonderful. So she'll be sorely missed, but she's taken a better opportunity somewhere else, so we're also happy for her. So for the time being, I'll be sitting in as the official liaison, of course, with Treya pulling a lot of the weight and helping me out.
Well, wonderful. If you get to speak to Tatiana, give her our best, please. Yeah, she was wonderful to work with, and we were very fortunate to have her in the city. Do we have any public comments?
I think Student Commissioner might have an announcement for us.
Wonderful.
This is where we request future agenda items. Is that now?
No,
can
this
I
No,
is
do that?
just
not yet.
for
Okay,
just
then.
announcements of
Okay,
anything you're
then.
working on.
Oh, anything I'm working on? Maybe it's, I don't know if it's a future agenda item. I'm like, should I just say it now? Okay. So a friend and partner of mine, Lauren Weintraub, and I are currently working on a distracted driving campaign, and we've partnered with the city. We've set a budget to pay the communications department to create video content for the city's social media accounts, and we've reached out to Sheriff's Department, Calabasas High School, and we're planning an event for next April, which is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. And with all the support we have, I think we can make an even stronger impact with putting up street signs. And there are many benefits to these signs, but the three at the top of our minds where they could serve as a reminder to prevent accidents, improve traffic flow, and overall driving safety. So I don't know, I just thought this was an amazing place to come, and I don't know if this is where we request that or if we can make that happen, but yes, this is...
I think that's wonderful, and the fact that you guys are taking the initiative to get that launched, I think that's fantastic. Treya, what could we do? Could we agendize?
Yeah.
So to agendize it, we'll do that at the end of the meeting.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Yeah.
Quick
Yeah, we'd love to
question
know more.
for you. In conjunction with another program called Every 15 Minutes, you guys can collaborate and be really, really good.
Yeah, so we're actually doing the program, it's called Beyond 15 Minutes, and so we're going off that, and it's called Beyond 15 Minutes. So it's a similar program, but right now we're doing 3 short videos that we're gonna post on the we're gonna make a TikTok account, because that's where we looked at some statistics, and the majority car accidents that have happened in Calabasas is with 16 to 18-year-olds, and now I'm driving and Lauren's driving, and so we're seeing all these issues on the road, and so we thought TikTok would be the best, because that's where a lot of the youth are, the social media. So we're making those short videos, and then hopefully we can expand, and beyond every 15 minutes is like the big goal, but right now it's a little smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we look forward to hearing more, so thank you. Well, let's advance to public comments. Treya, do we have any public
No.
comments tonight? Okay.
No public
Wonderful.
comments tonight.
I'm going to request a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Make the motion?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Apologies, our student member can't
Yeah, I was
motion
wondering
in
that.
second.
But I like it. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, guys. Thank you. So on the consent calendar, we've got we just approved the consent calendar, so we don't need to approve the minutes, correct? Okay, good. So let's move on to the minutes.
Or to the continued business.
Or, excuse me,
Yeah.
to continued business, thank you.
Yep.
The reorganization, okay, got it. And am I taking that? Forgive me.
Well, it's actually up for the whole commission to discuss.
Right,
So the way it typically works is any commissioner can nominate themselves or another commissioner to be chair and vice chair, and we'll take each one separately and a vote for each one. But the floor is yours to discuss. And just to put some notes about it. So Chair, you've served one term, so you can technically serve another term.
right.
You can serve 2 terms as chair. But again, that's for you all to decide.
Absolutely. Yeah, please.
Just to maybe expedite it here, I'm happy to support anyone else on the commission that would like the chair or vice chair position.
And I would say, if things are going along smoothly and you're willing to do it, we can leave it as is.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. Thank you.
And I agree with that. Yeah, why change it?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
All right.
I second all the motions.
We should have a first motion. If there's a actual nomination, we should get someone to make the official.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Heath to remain as chair.
I second that.
Okay.
We'll do a vote.
So for a vote, Commissioner Sperling Reich,
Aye.
Commissioner Pashai,
Aye.
Commissioner Patton,
Aye.
Commissioner Kessel,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations, Chair Patton.
Wonderful, thank you, Treya. Thank you, Curtis.
And we will do the
The vice
same
chair
exact thing for vice chair.
next? Wonderful. Well, I guess I will go ahead and start that off. I've been pleased with working alongside Richard, so I would nominate Richard as vice chair, unless someone else has another idea.
I support that.
I support that too.
Yeah, no, I concur.
All right. Treya, any other official mentions we need to do from that side? No?
We're all
Okay.
set. Congratulations, Vice Chair Kessel.
Wonderful. Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So moving on to new business. The Highway and Safety Improvement Program, Cycle 11 Project Design Workshop. Obviously, the recommendation is to review and provide direction for the HSIP Cycle 11 project design. In terms, this is something that we went through with you, Treya, correct? Didn't you provide, or was it?
We've gone very high level, but I do have a presentation for the 60% design that goes more in depth into what we've kind of been up to and what we're hoping to do.
That would be wonderful,
And
thank
then
you.
it would include what we're asking the commission to approve.
Wonderful. Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Okay. So, as you said, Chair, we have brought this up to the commission before. You've seen kind of parts of this before. So just the full background, 2022, City Council adopted the Local Roadway Safety Plan, LRSP, and this identified corridors and intersections at high risk for traffic collisions and proposed and prioritizes proven countermeasures. Later that year, staff used the plan to apply for the state's Highway Safety Improvement Program Cycle 11 for intersection improvement specifically, and the proposed elements would maximize the grant's impact and address the most critical safety needs. Staff received the letter of award from Caltrans in 2023, and after completing the initial required documents, began design in 2024. Project is now roughly in 60% design, and we have added 2 elements that were not part of the original grant, and that's what we will be requesting your input on today. And then after tonight, staff will be able to complete the design and apply for construction authorization from Caltrans with an anticipated construction start of late 2025 to early 2026. So the project encompasses 12 signalized intersections. I put 13 in the staff report. That's my bad, it's 12. And includes signing, striping, and signal work. So major improvements will take place at 6 of the intersections, but all intersections will receive retroreflective border backplate upgrades. This presentation will go through each of the intersection improvements, showing an approximation of what the new improvements will look like. Reminder, I'm an engineer and not a graphic designer, so I did the best I could. So at Lost Hills Road, we're looking northbound towards the freeway. At Agora Road, we'll be installing a new near-side indication. So this countermeasure is intended to reduce rear-end collisions. This work will require the removal of the existing streetlight pole and then installation of a new signal pole. Las Virgenes Road will receive new centerline striping at Lost Hills Road to help guide motorists around the curve. The work at Las Virgenes and Agora is also mostly striping work. So we'll convert that existing 20-foot wide southbound lane into a 10-foot dedicated right turn lane, leaving the second 10-foot through lane. So this will alleviate some of the traffic backup, avoid broadside accidents when cars attempt to squeeze past vehicles going straight. So you can see this is the existing. We have a very wide through lane here, and it's perfect to fit that dedicated turn lane. Agora Road will also receive some new advanced lane guidance to ensure motorists know which lane to use when they get to the T intersection. So this will decrease broadsides at the intersection due to switching lanes. So Las Virgenes is over here. So as cars are traveling this way, these don't exist. So once they get to here, they kind of get a little confused which lane they're supposed to be in. There's no through lane. Currently, there will be when the West Village development comes in.
Okay.
But just to, if you could go back to that one, if you've ever driven that stretch kind of in front of Albertsons, you know, folks usually want to, if they're going to get on the freeway, depending which direction, they may want to be in that the outer turn lane, and it's not really clear. So we've just had issues with people on the inside left turn lane that then decide, hey, I want to go on the freeway going, you know, south or east on the 101, so they cut over. So this will help warn drivers in advance of what's going on at the intersection.
Exactly.
I've got a quick question, but would you like me to save it until the end of your presentation?
Go ahead.
Okay, so what's going on at this intersection is courtesy of the fires and other arteries within the city being shut down, not just our city, but community-wide, is very chaotic. So you've got cars that are backed up all the way past the Goodnight Inn, cutting through traffic, trying to go in the median, which you just highlighted. Do we have any ideas, in addition to this, once the development does come in, we're going to have a greater traffic impact than we have currently. And I'm wanting to throw some ideas out. Just for consideration in what we may be able to do or may not be able to do in terms of the traffic, certainly between, rush hour traffic between the hours of 3:30 and 6:30.
That's a good concern. There has been a lot of traffic, especially in that corridor with Topanga Canyon being closed and the freeway backing up to
Yeah.
Liberty Canyon, and we're seeing more traffic, exit at Lost Hills and then try to cut through Calabasas. And like you mentioned, some of that, or maybe alluded to, some of that will be relieved once Topanga Canyon opens up again. But what we can do is we can come back with what's going to happen at the intersection with the West Village development, and how that's going to, there's going to be some improvements at this intersection associated with that development that the developer will make. The development won't have too much of an impact as far as traffic in and out onto Las Virgenes Road, but they will have some, which is why they're doing work at the intersection. So maybe we can bring that back and you can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fellow commissioners, thoughts?
One more for me. Have you also, because I like the new painting that's going to go on for advance warning, have you considered also, in addition to the left arrow in the middle lane, putting 101 East on the ground to further let people know that's the lane they want to be in?
That's something that we can explore.
good
It's
idea.
not currently part of the project, but we'll definitely explore that. It's a good
Okay.
idea.
Great.
Yes.
I think that's a really practical idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, similar to what we have existing on Parkway Calabasas. Yep. Yep.
Wonderful. Okay. Anyone else? Any thoughts? Okay, great. Sorry, Treya.
No worries. Okay. So both directions of Calabasas Road at Park Granada will receive the new near side indications to counter the rear ends, and new advanced stop lines will be installed to help prevent motorists from entering the paver crosswalk while pedestrians are crossing.
Quick question here.
Yes.
Where are we facing in these two?
So
Oh, one of them is going
this
toward
oops.
the Oaks. And
This one's, no, this is Calabasas Road. So this is going towards Old Town, and this is going towards the Commons.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the Commons is over here, Trader Joe's is over here.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
No, don't be. Okay. So all 12 intersections in this project will have signal backplates replaced with retroreflective borders. So this improvement improves visibility in daytime and nighttime conditions. It helps older and color deficient drivers see the signal ahead and improves visibility during power outages. One thing to note, going back to Commissioner Smith's agenda item request from last meeting, is that this improvement will greatly help drivers see an upcoming signal even when there's no power. So the headlights will flash against it. These will be installed along the entire Las Virgenes and Lost Hills corridors, as well as Parkway Calabasas and Calabasas Road intersections. And then according to the Federal Highway Administration, this countermeasure has a 15% reduction in total crashes, and that's for an operational signal. I'm sure you've seen them on all of the Caltrans signals. They went through and upgraded all of theirs a while ago. Muro Road will be receiving a new near side indication at Las Virgenes Road. Again, this Edison pole will need to be removed for the improvement. And then the first item we are bringing to the commission that's not part of the grant is the installation of a protected left turn phase for southbound Las Virgenes onto Muro Road. So this improvement was part of the LRSP, but was not included in the grant due to the benefit cost ratio. And then due to the history of accidents from vehicles making that left turn while oncoming traffic is continuing straight, including more recent accidents, staff decided to add the item to the project scope. And this work will require the removal and replacement of that existing mast arm to install the new overhead indication.
And maybe hover your mouse over the. Maybe hover your mouse over that area. It's.
Oh.
I see it. It's kind of small.
I see
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah,
smaller.
just-
Yeah.
Understood.
So this is looking towards the freeway,
Yeah.
going southbound.
And currently, that particular stoplight doesn't have that dedicated turn signal
Correct.
and the secondary signal off of the sidewalk, right?
So
Am I seeing
this
that?
exists, but it's a straight. So we'll change that out to show the turn.
Got it. Okay.
But
Great.
this will be a brand new indication up here.
Okay, wonderful.
And then finally at Monroe and Las Virgenes will be the center lane stripe to help guide motorists around that curve. And this is part of the grant. The final intersection we'll be looking at is Parkway Calabasas at Park Granada. The grant includes the addition of a safety light. So we will remove the existing pole, put a new one that'll have a street light on it. Not in the grant or in the LRSP is a proposed solution. So one comment that we've gotten a lot is people turning this way from Parkway Calabasas onto Park Granada, and the people turning this way who have a permissive left turn, they have a lot of near misses. And so we don't want to turn this into a completely protected left turn because of the backup that will cause for people on their way to school. So what we want to do instead is force the people coming down Parkway Calabasas to turn into the correct lane, which is the nearest lane. And the easiest way to do that is to give them a dedicated right turn lane and then provide that striping to guide them through the intersection. Yes.
Trustee, how do you define protected left turn?
So a protected left turn means that you can only turn left when it's a green. The protected permissive means that so that's the 5 signal head. So it'll turn green for you, and then it'll go yellow, and then red, and then the straight will go green. But you're still allowed to make that left turn when it's clear. So that's how the signal currently is, and we'd like to keep it that way because it helps with the efficiency of the signal.
How's that going to impact the bike lane that's currently there, or how are we going to end that leading up to that, or what's the plan?
So the bike lane does need improvements along Parkway Calabasas in general. That's going to be kind of part of that SS4A. What we're proposing here is what we did on Lost Hills Road, which was unfortunately removing the bike lane in that section, but we'll have the striping to show that the bikes share that turn lane.
Okay. I think it's reasonable, and we have good sidewalks there also, and so, yeah, just curious. Thank you.
Of course.
And just so that I understand, the right turn lane, you can't go, it will go from, right now it's a through lane, correct?
Correct.
So that will be, not removed, but it will no longer be a through lane. You will have to make the right turn?
So right now it's a through and a right. We're going to split them. So there'll still be 2 through lanes as existing.
Got it.
So we're
Okay.
just kind of moving the lanes over a little bit to make space for that dedicated right turn.
Thanks for explaining that.
Of course.
And what's happening there, because I drive it every day, is people are in the through lane, but everyone's squeezing through in between the curb, and then they're not really paying attention who's turning left because they just got done squeezing through. They're blowing through their right turn, so it makes total sense with this one, I think.
Exactly. So a majority of the project is funded by the state HSIP grant cycle 11. The grant required a local match, which will come from local return. The 2 additional improvements are not eligible for funding from HSIP, but there are other options for funding. The work including programming additional local return or utilizing the city's signing and striping budget. So for HSIP, we applied for $152,000 to receive, and then saying that we will provide the extra almost $17,000 for the remainder of the project. And then the 2 things that we've added to the project since are roughly $75,000. So for a total project cost of almost $250,000. So what staff's requesting is direction on those 2 items that are not included in the grant. So the Monroe Road protected left turn, and then the Parkway Calabasas dedicated right turn lane.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Treya. Commissioners, can we get a vote on this?
Are we going to give like a prioritization, like if we can only do one, we would approve one, or are we disapproving the whole project?
I would think both.
Feel free to make a
Recommendation.
motion with a priority in it like that. That's fine. That can be like a contingency plan, just in case we don't come up with the funding. We're fairly confident we'll have the funding for
Okay.
everything.
I mean, I agree with both of them, so my recommendation to the chair would be that number 1 at Monroe be prioritized, but that both of them get completed.
So, wonderful, thank you.
I also think the same. If the funding is there, both seems to be very good projects and efficient.
Wonderful. Thank you.
But I guess we need an official motion.
We're going to.
Okay, yeah, I mean, my Muro Road protected lefts is a no-brainer, as is the right turn at Parkway Calabasas, having seen more than a fair share of accidents at that particular intersection. So anything to alleviate that is good.
Wonderful. Would you like to make the motion to approve the recommendation?
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation with the caveat that one goes, not the caveat, the priority being Muro Road and Parkway Calabasas second.
Okay.
I second that.
Vice Chair?
In favor?
Okay. I'm in favor as well. It's unanimous. Thank you, Treya.
Thank you.
The Park Aura Lane reconfiguration.
Yes. So this item came about a little bit more recently. So in January, we received a complaint from a resident. The concern is that during an emergency, there are only 3 exits from the Calabasas Park area. So we have Park Capri, Park Aura, and then Park Sorrento. And so if these avenues are inundated with traffic congestion, it will be difficult for residents to evacuate. The additional concern is that this is a daily issue with school traffic. So specifically, vehicles parked on Park Aura. Oops. Click too fast. Specifically, vehicles parked on Park Aura block the cars from being able to utilize the entire roadway. So the request is to make Park Aura the entire street a no stopping anytime street to create more space for evacuations and daily travel. So Park Aura west of Park Sorrento, so this section, already prohibits stopping on both sides of the road. So this item focuses on the stretch between Park Sorrento and Valmar. So we're just looking at this stretch for this project. Currently, this is the lane configuration on Park Aura. This and the subsequent cross sections are if you're viewing the street looking east, so towards LA City, from Park Sorrento to Park Aura. There's a 10-foot unmarked parking lane, a westbound drive lane, and a wide eastbound drive lane. It's important to note that parking is only allowed on a small 240-foot section to provide parking to the existing homes. Alternative 1 keeps the parking lane for the residents, but makes it a marked lane and introduces Class 2 bike lanes. The bike lanes are consistent with the city's current bicycle master plan and makes it more clear where vehicles are not allowed to park. Alternative 2 increases the number of lanes each way and eliminates the parking lane. A bicycle facility is created in the form of a striped and signed Class 3 bike route with the sharrows. This option creates a roadway with more space for cars to queue, but a Class 3 bike route is not consistent with the city's adopted bicycle master plan, and there may be pushback from residents who rely on the parking in front of their homes. Additionally, there's potential for a CEQA impact and mitigation to be needed. This alternative was removed from discussion early on for that reason.
So it's no longer, it's not no longer an alternative?
It is an alternative.
Option.
We still wanted it to provide it to the commission, but it's one that staff does not believe will be something that we can move forward with.
Okay.
It's not a feasible option. The last alternative keeps the existing 1 lane each way, but utilizes the additional width to create a center lane. This option also has the Class 2 bike lanes, but it eliminates the parking. This option creates a roadway with more space for cars to queue, is consistent with the city's bicycle master plan, but there's still the potential pushback from the residents who wish to keep their parking in front of their house. So ultimately, staff's recommendation is for alternative 1, the parking lane and bike lane. The conceptual plan does not account for the existing driveways, but shows the cross-section from an aerial view. Where we don't have the parking lane, you can see that the bike lane is buffered. And then that adds That adds a visual separation between drivers and bicyclists. And this will help prevent cars from parking there, which if you go on Google Maps, look at Street View, cars are parked right next to the no stopping anytime sign right now. So the marked parking lane remains the same length as currently exists through signage, but the striping makes it more clear. Based on the most recent bids we've been receiving, the estimated striping cost for this would be $25,000. There are potential sources of funding, but it's not been identified as a priority. And so we're requesting TTC review and provide direction on this item.
Wonderful. Any questions, commissioners? Thoughts?
What is causing the backup with the queuing lane again? What was it?
So the complaint was that it's cars parked, let me go backwards. Cars parked in front of the house. You can, that one. You can't see it too well, but cars parked here, there's a right turn lane here.
Right.
So the idea is that if the cars weren't parked there, we would have this really wide lane and we'd be able to turn it into 4 lanes and have greater space to queue. And that right turn lane specifically would be able to queue all the way back when everyone's coming home from school.
So it's during school egress and ingress when because of the schools that we're seeing the backup? That's the main concern here?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Can you do like time for non-stop at any, during those business, like rush hour kind of things that you see on Ventura Boulevard sometimes, they have between 2 to 4 or 3 to 5.
That's something that we can look into.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea. The concern is it requires enforcement. And I don't know that we have a strong parking enforcement, because that's no longer a police issue, it's a parking enforcement issue. And if the city's not gonna be in a position to enforce it, then people are gonna realize that very quickly and abuse it, I believe.
The sheriffs don't do parking enforcement?
Their department is capable of it, but that's not what a regular patrol
I mean, I thought they
deputy is
did it
supposed
for
to
the
do.
city. And
Well, and I don't know what our agreement is with them, but that's not a traditional deputy's job. They should have their own branch that would handle parking, but they can do it, obviously, so.
They can. We also have, the city does have private security that can issue parking tickets or citations. But again, just kind of like the sheriff's deputies, our own security forces are stretched pretty thin around the city. So parking is a priority, but there are other priorities that are competing against it. Another concern about just all of this work is we do need to coordinate with the residents there who would potentially lose parking. Maybe if you could pull up the aerial again, you can see that they really don't have a lot of additional parking in the area, and so
All of them
primarily
have
for
driveways.
I'm just thinking for guests and
Yeah.
things like that. It's still a loss potentially to them. So it's something we need to
houses there, right?
coordinate.
Correct, there's 3 houses.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, do you risk legal action against the city for doing something like that? Probably not, because it's public space.
It's public right of way, so the city does have ultimate discretion, but we do want to collaborate,
Right.
with property owners there. Because, this concern came to us as an evacuation concern during an emergency. And we haven't studied it in depth, but we do know that this is not the pinch point that's going to happen during it. There's going to be other pinch points on Valmar and closer to the 101 that even if we eliminate parking there, we're not necessarily fixing an evacuation problem. We might help a little bit just in a very short stretch, which is why TREA expanded this to look at ways we could improve just general traffic flow and bicycle facilities too. And that's how we landed on the alternative there. But the loss of parking is still something we need to talk to the residents about.
A raw thought just hit me. I mean, if you are heading from Valmar towards Park Capri, you come to the stop sign. On the left, recently I see the sign of Edison, and they have fenced it out, big section of it.
I believe that's a dog park now.
maybe you can turn that to a few parking spots instead of an accommodate the residents. Say, you know, your guest can park over there, but eliminate this because traffic has to have the right flow.
I believe that's property of the HOA.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Is it?
If it's the area I think you're talking about, it's
So,
either.
so it's the same
it might be
HOA that
owned
it's
by
running
Edison
those
or
3
it's-
properties, so they can accommodate their residents, you know? I'm just, as I said, a raw thought.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And I'm just highlighting that we would want to talk to them first. and
Yeah.
Not saying that we would, you know, we'd listen to their concerns and evaluate them before we made any other decisions.
And what would be your next step into getting that moving along? Curtis?
Well, we do have a lot of other priorities right now, so
Right.
this is, you know, somewhere in the middle of the list. So I don't see this happening within the next 6 months. If anything, it would be probably more into early 2026. We also need to identify funding. There's also this SS4A grant that we have that allows us to look at the city overall. And so we've done quite a bit of analysis on this already, but we're still waiting to coordinate with the federal government on that, right? We've heard that that's moving forward, but it's obviously very slow with everything that's going on at the national level. But we're not slow playing this, but it might make sense for us just to wait and put this under the grant.
Right.
So next
I
step
would
is-
agree with that.
yeah.
So maybe you're talking in early 2026 is kind of an estimation. Should we agendize this for a future meeting and come back and,
Yeah, we can
Sure.
table this tonight.
yeah. I would move to table this to perhaps a third quarter, fourth quarter meeting of the commission. I would make the motion on that. Anyone?
Before you, is that okay with staff to do that?
Yes.
So I second that, I agree.
Yeah, then,
Yeah,
right there.
I agree. I don't see the exigency for that, and I think it does need more thought.
Plus, you're about to go into a time of year where school's out another month. So
That's true as well. Okay, wonderful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right. Diving into our oral reports, the daylighting law, AB 413.
So we're done asking you guys questions. Now we can just provide all the informational items, and then you'll just ask us questions if you do have them.
Wonderful, thank you, Treya.
So, what is AB 413? So Assembly Bill 413 is California's daylighting law, which prohibits parking, stopping, or standing within 20 feet of the approach side of any marked or unmarked crosswalk. So this distance is reduced to 15 feet at curb extensions. So the overall purpose of AB 413 is visibility and safety at crosswalks. And then I just have this little graphic from Streets for All, which is a Los Angeles-based community, and they created this graphic that explains the need for daylighting. So when you're looking at this image, you might not realize what's missing, and what's missing is a parent trying to cross the street with a kid in their stroller. So if you remove that car, which this bill does, the parent doesn't have to step out into the street before checking to see if it's clear. That's essentially all that this is trying to accomplish. So I just wanted to run through a really quick example just so that everybody knows where you can and cannot park. So this is an area in Deer Springs, the Deer Springs neighborhood. So on the right side is the Las Virgenes Creek. That's the pedestrian bridge that takes you over to AE, right? So in this example, there's we have the bulb out, we have some marked crosswalks, and we have an unmarked crosswalk. So here are all of the crosswalks. We have one at the bulb out, one across here. Oops, I keep clicking. Marked, 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 and then this is our unmarked crosswalk. But we still have curb ramps and the sidewalk, so people are still going to be coming this way. And so this is just a quick show you kind of that approximate distance of where that red curb would be. So we're not installing red curb around the entire city to enforce this, but it should just kind of give you an idea of this is how far away I should park from that intersection. So you can see it's a little bit shorter for the bulb out. And then, for example, like this car would get a ticket right now if he was parked there now. So warnings are still being issued currently. It started in January 1st. And I believe the Sheriff's Department is going to continue warnings until July 1st. And then we've been reviewing internally our red curb. So we're creating an entire red curb plan, but we are prioritizing school areas and business areas. So we have already started with Old Town. We added some additional red curb. That seems to be doing really well. We've actually gotten some positive feedback from the community. And then other than that, we're just trying to educate the community about what this means before citations are being issued.
A quick question. Does it apply to gated communities?
I did get that question about this and some other things in gated communities. What I was told, and you might actually have, Commissioner, have more information than I do, but that it does apply, however, the enforcement doesn't fall on the city. So it could happen, and, you know, someone could get away with it, essentially is what I'm saying, you know, but I think it's still, the law still pertains. Is that?
That's correct. And when it comes to the vehicle code, which this would fall under the vehicle code, vehicle code doesn't apply on private property. So if you're in the commons, it doesn't apply. There's only a few that would apply, like DUI, reckless driving, stuff like that, but hit and run. So in this case, in an HOA, I know mine, when you drive into the city, there's a sign that says vehicle code applies. So if your HOA says that, then they're allowing the vehicle code to be enforced within that community. So that would go community by community. So
I see. Okay.
And then that was the end of that item, if there are any other questions about it.
I have no further questions. Anyone? No? Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chair.
Of course. We are making great time. Thank you very much, commissioners. Okay. So moving on to the transit update. So I do have some marketing updates for you, Chair Patton, since you've requested it. So we have started updating our webpage. We've made the links a lot easier. We've made the look a lot cleaner. So this is what it looks like now when you go to cityofcalabasas.com/public transit. And then we've also created a new flyer that shows all of the ways to get around Calabasas.
That looks wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you to TriPepi, our communications group. And we're still going to be working on website updates as we make changes to all of the programs between now and August.
And is the tracking working? Have you?
The tracking is working. We are still experiencing some issues on Paseo side with the schedule because our shuttles tend to run a little faster, so it's predicting the shuttle to arrive at the stop sooner than it should be. So they're working on it on that end, but as long as you know the Calabasas schedule, you'll know if it's running late, and you'll know where the bus is at all times.
Okay, so it's kind of a live tracking as opposed to.
Yes, it's a live tracking. It's trying to be dynamic and tell you when it will get there, and that's where it's having some issues right now.
Oh, okay.
So, but just trust the schedule that's posted online.
And since we're on transportation, can I ask a question, or do we ask questions at the end? And this was asked of me by somebody, one of the store owners, who I was shocked that they knew who I was, along Calabasas Road, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to ask. For them, their parking is essentially either at the Commons or I guess there's a public space. There's 52 spaces. There's 22 of which are taken up by the buses now. I guess those buses used to be at the end of Calabasas Road. Am I?
Correct. Yes. So the buses used to be stored at the Public Works Yard at the end of Calabasas Road, past the proposed roundabout.
Right.
We had to move them due to catalytic converter thefts. We also had some people living on the buses. So the decision was made to move it to a place that was well lit, has cameras, et cetera, et cetera. It is not a permanent solution. It is just lasting longer than we wanted it to.
Okay. Well, I mean, when people come, I don't know. I mean, it's the second time it's happened, and I don't know why people have pegged me as the person to ask. Maybe I'm over there too much. What is the response supposed to be in that?
Well, the easiest thing for you to do would be just to direct them to.
That's kind of
to-
what I've
to
been
me,
doing.
to the Public Works website. But as Treya said, it is a temporary location, but we don't have the permanent location identified yet. We are in a kind of an exploratory phase, looking for an area to have transit and Public Works, like a yard essentially. But we haven't finalized where that's going to be. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we sympathize with the businesses there that want the additional parking, and, you know, we would move them. We just also have to protect our shuttles, and we've had relatively few incidents with,
Correct. I don't think we've had an
vandalism.
incident since we've moved
In the
them
new
there.
location?
in the new
Correct.
locations.
Yes.
So it's definitely like, I would say that is one of our priorities, actually. It's a pretty big priority, as you can imagine, in a city like Calabasas, where most of the land is already privately owned, to find a spot to create a yard to park the buses, but we are working on it.
So you usually park them after hours, right? I mean, overnight and after hours.
We do, and I think if you run a restaurant in that area,
And it's the restaurants that are one.
yeah,
The one.
we're parked there starting
I
around
understand.
6.
No, I understand.
evening.
But what I was thinking, again, out of the box, is that because of the great relationship that the city has with Mr. Caruso, maybe one corner of the parking on the commons that evening wouldn't hurt them. It's empty anyway. You know,
Well, yeah, maybe in the back, but
yeah, somewhere in the back, somewhere, you know, because that's a, you know, empty space overnight. You know, people are not parking there.
Yeah, I appreciate the idea. We can we're coordinating with the Caruso team because they have some redevelopment work going. We can bring it up, but it is private property,
Of course.
so it's a little bit,
Yeah.
nothing's guaranteed. You know, the parking right is public, that lot.
Curtis, not to back you or the team into a corner, but do you have a date in mind for kind of a move forward or an address to the public on kind of what?
No,
Okay.
that, not yet.
Okay, understood.
then I guess when it's, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's asked you about it, and I'm shocked that again that it's been twice that somebody's even thought to ask me about it. With that said, given that I'm sure you know that it's highly visible, probably because of its location, and because the farmers market is there on Saturday and everybody can see it, that I'm probably pointing out the obvious.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, though, and really, nobody wants a yard more than I do for buses and public works activities. So it's something we're working on. But I wish I could provide a date, and as soon as we do have a date, we'll be presenting that, obviously, to commissions and to council.
I mean, I guess it's a good problem for the city to have, that there's enough need for parking in that area for the businesses.
Wonderful, thank you, Treya. Commissioners, any further thoughts on this item?
No?
Okay.
That was just slide one.
Yes.
But I do have a lot of program updates to share. So we're working with our shuttle contractor to complete a transit stop audit and a route survey. So to look to make sure that the stops that we currently have are in the right spot for people to be able to use it, making sure that our lines make sense. We might, excuse me, we might want to consolidate some lines. There might be a new line that needs to be formed, that kind of a thing. So that's something that we are planning to bring to TTC in July. And then with that, we're also designing new transit stop signs that will be a little bit easier for people to understand what they're waiting at the stop for. And it will have the QR code to take you to the city's website for all of the schedule information. Today, staff received 5 proposals for the new Dial-A-Ride and microtransit contract to be approved by council in May, and then this new contract would go into effect in July. Ultimately, the goal of the RFP, the request for proposals, was to have an app that users can utilize to book rides. and check the status of the ride. And then on staff's end, it'll make it easier to complete reporting requirements since the current system is paper-based. The trolley is set to resume operation this summer, so that'll run Memorial Day to Labor Day on Saturdays. And then the beach bus will be coming back, and that takes place during the 10 weeks between when LVUSD gets out of school and when they get back in school. And then staff will be focusing our efforts on the marketing, make sure that everybody knows that these transit options are available to them. It's available for a short time. Come use them while we're running. Especially with Topanga Canyon being closed, Las Virgenes is expected to get very busy with all of the cars. So if we can help alleviate that, and then it's much cheaper than parking down there in Malibu. And then this leads to the final bullet that we're working on an online permitting system to allow payments for transit passes and tickets to be purchased completely online. So currently everybody has to come in person to pick it up, and it's not the most efficient for everybody to use it.
Is the online permitting in conjunction with the new contract coming in July as well? Or
So
is that all part of it?
The online permitting's through our existing permitting system.
Okay.
Building and Safety have already moved everything online, Building and Safety and Planning. They've moved everything online, Public Works just hasn't yet. So that's the effort that we're going through right now.
But on the Dial-A-Ride, what Treya did with the RFP is she requested that they provide an app service. So the idea is we want our microtransit and Dial-A-Ride to compete with Uber and Lyft. Right? I can't promise that we'll be that slick and integrated, but right now we're essentially using telephone, phone calls and emails and stuff. So we're going to try to take at least one step towards being a little more automation and app-based.
Yeah, good.
Exactly.
Good,
Yes.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Treya.
Of course. So our ridership on our line 1 is up 12% from the last time we reported, and 6% on the peak hour routes. Dial-A-Ride and microtransit ridership went down a little bit, and we're not sure why, and this is another reason I'm excited to have a new contract with the new app, because I'll be able to pull that report and see what exactly happened, why did it dip. And then we're still on track on this year's budget. So next month, the Local Transit Services Subcommittee for Metro will approve our local return allocation. And so once we have that approved, then I'll be able to create the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. And this is just an informational item. And if there's any additional questions, please feel free. Awesome.
Commissioners? No? I think we're good, Treya. Thank you.
Perfect. So on to the sheriff's update. So speed radar update. So we have, it's been at Old Topanga at Rencrest for quite a bit. So these are our, we have 2 movable speed radar feedback signs and then 1 trailer. So the one at Old Topanga and Rencrest, average speed and 85th percentile are actually pretty decent. So that's going down towards the school. Las Virgenes to Oak Glen, we have a very low violator percent. That's actually gone down since the last time we reported it. Park Sienna, west of Park Aurora. This is the first time we're reporting on this one, and it only had a violator percent of 0.2%. So not too many people are speeding in that particular location along Park Sienna, and that was a resident request. And then Adamsville at Karen Lock is that 90-degree turn, and so again, we're also having very low violator percent. Staff's working with the Sheriff's Department to finalize a monthly rotation for our movable signs. So we'll no longer just be sitting there for a few months or a couple of years at this point like the one on Old Topanga is. So this map shows the existing permanent signs in blue, and then the sheriff's made a recommendation, and that's in yellow. And then Public Works is working on our list of locations based on the existing and the recommendations. And then once finalized, we'll be putting up a web page showing the rotation, and it'll also have a resident request form. So the idea is between the 3 signs that we have the ability to move around, they'll just kind of sit in one spot for a month, and then we'll schedule the rotation. We know where it's going next, but if we get a resident request that we deem as appropriate, we'll kind of throw it into the next rotation. And then it'll only be out there for a month.
That's great. Thank you, Treya. What is the exercise on the resident request? So they go online and they fill out a request form, but what exactly is the criteria for consideration?
So we haven't completely finalized that, but the idea is, give us where you're seeing this problem. What's the problem that you're seeing? Is it just speeding, or is it another issue that could be handled another way? Like
Okay.
if people are making not just speeding, but doing other dangerous traffic.
Like burnouts?
Anything, yeah.
So
Burnouts, yeah.
this, yeah. In this program, it kind of started based on resident request. It
Yeah.
was
Right.
residents who were complaining about speeding, and we would move the sign and to kind of analyze traffic and then report back to them and say, oh yeah, you're right, or maybe you're, like the data typically shows, then I'm generalizing here, is that there are incidents of speeding, but it's not predominant. Because I think our perception is sometimes a little bit skewed by the one or two fast cars we hear late at night, but the overall flow isn't. But we want to validate that with actual data instead of me just making a guess at it. So that's what we
Assumptions,
do. But we're trying to, if we can put it on our own rotation, then, residents who might have a concern can just see that they're on the within a month or two. But if they feel like, again, we're kind of blending the two. We're not going to just stick to our rotation as the only path forward. If we do get a lot of a serious concern or series of concerns from multiple residents, we'll move the sign and redo our order.
Wonderful. Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Curtis. Appreciate that.
And then moving on to more of the sheriff's updates. So Parking Resolution 2025-1953 was adopted by council on April 9th, and this expands the previous resolution prohibiting parking of truck, tractors, and trailers. And now it also includes motor trucks and extends the restrictions to all public streets within city limits. So staff is awaiting signs from the manufacturer in order to begin issuing the citations for that resolution.
Thank you for that. Are they issuing any warnings at this particular point, or is?
No, once the signs go up, we'll just be issuing citations.
Understood. Thank you.
Staff has also requested Sheriff's Department to prioritize enforcement on Mulholland Drive at Park South for parents blocking the Park South driveway during viewpoint pickup. At Park Capri and Park Sienna, there have been complaints of residents disobeying the existing stop sign on Park Capri. And again, LASD is issuing warnings for that daylighting law. Then otherwise, staff's working on with LASD on a policy for how we will operate the city's signals during widespread power outages. And when we're a little bit further in that, we'll bring it to the body for either as an informational item or if there's any questions that we have that we want your input on.
I can tell you that Park Capri, Park Sienna, you know this, it's deadly. And I happen to live there, so it's anecdotal, but the number of times I see either a near accident or you can just tell when somebody's just not going to stop. You just look and you go, yeah, the person's not going to stop, and you know to slow down. And it happens at least 2 or 3 times a week.
I don't know, I might be wrong, but Mulholland Drive, it's not in Calabasas.
Correct. It should be Mulholland Highway.
Yeah, that's Mulholland Highway. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. It's not in.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you're correct. I just,
Close. Yes.
We'd like to expand.
it's down the
think
street. No, thank you for catching that.
Sure.
Yeah. No, please, Commissioner Smith.
Trey, a question for the resolution, and that's going to allow the enforcement, is my understanding, for LA Sheriff's Department to start enforcing that. Does the resolution also encompass tow authority to remove vehicles?
That is a Curtis question.
That's a question we can ask the sheriff. I mean, so we can cite vehicles, trucks with our private security that we hire. They obviously can't tow. They don't
Right.
have the capacity to do it. We can ask the sheriff follow up. I don't know
Okay.
if they would.
I just think it's a good option if it were something that were egregious enough. I mean, there are other tow sections we could probably lean on, but I think it'd be interesting to note if it was included in this and there was a
Okay.
specific section for it.
That's a good
Yeah.
question.
That is a great question. Commissioner Smith, I believe it's 72 hours from the point of citation. if the vehicle has not moved.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
It does sound right, but,
It is,
That's-
72 hours.
yeah. But I guess the other scenario would be repeat offenders that get multiple citations and they're not gonna listen. Maybe it's a company, maybe they are okay paying it because it's easier to park there.
Mm.
Do we have something to lean on and just tow them on the fourth time or whatever it is, you know?
Is that something that we could discuss?
Well, that was actually brought up when the resolution went to council.
Okay.
And thanks for bringing it up again. I do
Yeah.
need to follow up with the city attorney on that as far as, repeat offenders.
Right.
How to handle that. I didn't have an answer for council. I still don't have that answer, but I'll work on it with the city attorney.
Great point, Commissioner Smith. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Good question. If we could go back to the Park Capri, Park Sienna. We've also talked with our consultant traffic engineer about this, and we will be looking at this with the SS4A grant as well.
Yes.
Well, I know at one point there, I only say it as an anecdote.
No,
but-
we have
but-
I get other calls about that same intersection, and it's interesting the way the stop signs are configured there, so we'll be looking at it.
And I know at one point there was going to be there was talk of a roundabout of some kind, which I'm all for.
Yeah, that would be the best solution.
Yeah. So yeah, the SS4A will kind of do that feasibility study to see if it's worth putting in a roundabout or if there are other options that we can look into. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So, any other questions on the sheriff's update?
I think we're good. Thanks, Treya.
Of course. And then we are on to our final report of the night. So the division report, so this is everything that the Traffic Transportation Division's done since January when we last met. So we'll start with the capital improvement project updates. So the 2024 resurfacing project, I know that was last year, but the final element, a raised crosswalk, is currently in construction. So the raised crosswalk on Parkville will connect residents of the Saratogas with Grape Arbor Park. Construction is expected to be completed by the end of the month, and then once the construction is completed, we'll be able to close out this project. And then this project has funding from Senate Bill 1, aka SB 1, and the gas tax. Sidewalk repair and replacement project started a couple months ago. It's expected to be completed next month. There are over 771 sidewalk locations originally identified in need of complete replacement or grind to improve pedestrian safety. And then this project also is completing ADA curb ramp upgrade at a few intersections, including this one here at Calabasas Road in Park Granada, where they completely redid the driveway to make it ADA compliant. And this project is also utilizing SB1 and gas tax money. Next, the 2025 resurfacing project is currently in design. We're planning on completing the west portion of Calabasas Road, the north portion of Las Virgenes Road, and several streets in the Saratogas and Highlands. The project is in design, and staff's working with Caltrans on federal funding, and federal funding that we have for the project through the Regional Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, or STPL. Otherwise, this project will be mostly funded through SB1 and the gas tax. Since our last meeting, West Calabasas Road Roundabout, MRO, has not had significant update. We're still waiting on final coordination with Caltrans and some of those aesthetic elements of the design. We're still aiming for a start of summer 2025, but likely later summer 2025. And this project's funded by Measure M and LA County Sales Tax Measure. Finally, on the capital improvement projects, the Mulholland Highway project has not received many updates since January. Staff is seeking additional funding for construction for the entire project and is working towards starting the segment most prone to erosion in summer 2026. We currently have Measure M and Measure R funding, with Measure R being another LA County sales tax measure. And then some other updates. Last week, we installed blinking LED stop signs on Lost Hills Road at Meadow Creek. So this was actually an improvement that was part of the city's LRSP. And it's intended to be a temporary improvement while we work on the installation of a potential roundabout there, which may or may not come as part of the SS4A grant.
What exactly are those lights that you're talking about, LEDs? What do they do?
So they just flash on and
Keep
on,
flashing day and night?
day and night, flash on and off.
It's a,
Correct.
They operate on solar.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, they're solar powered. And so the idea is to just draw more attention to the stop because I don't know how often you guys are in that area. I've walked that area and seen many cars blow past that stop sign and kind of screech to a halt in the middle of the intersection, like they
Yeah.
saw they saw it too late. So
Don't
this
we
is just
still
to
have
help.
the blinking crosswalk further up?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay,
at Coal
yeah,
Springs.
That's what I thought, okay.
So does this blinking would work for the Park Capri and Sienna?
well, that's a whole other, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, I was about to blow off that suggestion, but you know what? Actually, I think part of the problem is people don't think they have a stop sign there on Park Capri, and they do. Now, the fact that there's no stop sign on Park Sienna, that's another story. I will say, having been at this very intersection this weekend and nearly doing exactly what you just said, because it is a very wide street, and then you realize, like, wow, the stop sign's way over there, and I nearly went through it by accident. I saw it because of the lights,
Okay, perfect.
so
Good
they
to
do
hear.
work.
And these are inexpensive, relatively speaking, right? I mean, it's not an expensive solution.
I think, yeah, overall, it's inexpensive. When you compare an LED stop sign to a regular stop sign, they're very expensive. I think we spent on the order of $8,000.
Yeah, $8,000 to $10,000
$8,000 to $10,000.
but this is double posted, so this is 4. That one would be half
Yeah.
the cost. So it is more expensive than just having the stop signs, but it's less expensive than other solutions we've been
Options, yes.
thinking about.
And we, I mean, obviously, safety drives a lot of what we do, especially with this commission. But like with a lot of other signing and striping, we want to also avoid deploying something everywhere because it becomes overload. You want to be a little strategic. But Park Sienna, Park Capri is potentially a candidate for it. But I'm just kind of throwing that caveat out there that if we had lighted stop signs everywhere, then they would eventually become like the regular stop signs. So we still want to use them where we think they're most effective and needed. Yeah, but we'll consider that.
The positive thing about this is that they may take it in a wrong way because when it flashes, they think, oh, they got captured on the camera or something, That's another thing. So they kind of, every single time it happens to people when they see these flashing lights around intersections. That's at least what I think.
But it doesn't, it's not because you're approaching it, it's just constantly blinking, kind of saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And by doing that, I was able to kind of see
Snap
it.
too, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the intent is the driver will see them further away because it just catches your eye sooner than a regular sign.
Perfect. And then we have some updates on all of our grants. So earlier I presented on the status of the Cycle 11 project. Staff was also successful in our applications for HSIP Cycle 12, so we submitted 2 applications. One is for guardrail work, and the other is for pedestrian improvement at signalized intersections. The Safe Streets for All grant was on hold for a short period while the new administration completed its audits of the grant programs. But now we're awaiting an executed grant agreement from FHWA so we can begin that work on the projects associated with that grant. Since they weren't processing grant agreements for a while, they have warned us it could take a little bit of time to get through everybody. And then finally, staff applied for the Metro Active Transportation Cycle 2 grant program for over $4.5 million. So the funds requested are for the planning, design, and construction of the Calabasas Active Transportation Corridor, expected to make traveling along Calabasas Road from El Canyon, so at city limits, to Las Virgenes Road much easier for bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit users. So we expect to hear in July if we were successful with this application.
Wonderful, and Trey, I speak for everyone when I say great job on all these grants. You've worked very, very, very hard in securing these, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I will say I am not the only one working on grants, but thank you.
Yep.
And then finally, this is the Count Citizens request from the city's request software, Connect with Calabasas for Public Works. In total, between January and March, Public Works had 55 total requests for various topics. And that concludes.
Would you mind going back to that slide, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question that's kind of related to this? Because I know that one of the things is the street light. If a street light is out, you can. And I noticed you, at least in the classic area, you put up new LED lights, which are great.
Actually, I believe Southern California Edison did that.
Yeah,
We don't
that's-
own and operate many streetlights in the city. Most of them, it's very few. Most of them are owned by SCE.
So,
And they did have a program to upgrade a lot of their lights that I think they're just about done with.
Oh, okay.
So
My only question was like there was some random weird ones that are like on side streets, and I'm like, well, they didn't replace those, but they replaced the ones on Park Belmonte, but not the ones on side
I
streets.
do believe a few years ago that we did bring it to TTC that we'd been working with SCE on kind of that rollout. So they are completing a rollout of it and prioritizing it. So,
So maybe they just are doing side streets later.
potentially,
That's interesting.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd
thanks.
have to go back and see exactly what they did say, but I can bring that back to you.
No,
Question.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
just wondering.
I thought that, because I was involved with something in our neighborhood 10, 12 years ago, I thought that streetlights were part of LA County Public Works.
There may be some, but from what I've seen in our records, the majority are Edison. And then the lights within, behind gates and HOAs are going to be the responsibility of that HOA. And those could have been installed originally by LA County Public Works, especially those in the original developments. There's a chance that LA County maybe installed them and even maintained them for a while, but they are, the responsibility of the HOA.
Yeah, the proposal was for, some people were in favor, I was not, of adding streetlights, and I know that's who was in charge of it, was LA County for Mulwood Department of Public Works.
Oh, that's interesting.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Treya.
Thank you.
Well, then, do we have any future item requests? Yes? There we go.
Hi.
I'm so
I-
sorry, if I may, because there's something that we talked about in the last meeting, and I didn't hear anything about it, so I just want to bring it up as a reminder. The intersection Old Topanga and Mulholland Highway, the right turn from high school when you reach to that, we talked about putting one of
Yes.
those, I think you call it near side signal or something like that. Am I saying it correctly? Is that one of those right turn signals and all that? Is that something that it's at work? Because every day I drive through that, and every day I sense that something is going to happen because nobody knows what to do, where to stop, and how to go. Now, you have made some improvements, but it's not enough.
So we're limited right now by the controller at that intersection that controls the traffic signals. We have a project that's going to be moving into design to upgrade a lot of the signals around town. That'll be one of them, I believe, right? That's the Measure R, Measure M,
Correct, yeah.
right? ITS upgrade. So it's
That's part
slated
of
here to
the-
happen in the next 12 to 18 months. But we need a brand new, which is not simple. We need a brand new controller there because the one we have now won't accommodate an additional signal.
Yes, and in the meantime, we are waiting on signs from a manufacturer to put up to make it very clear where people are supposed to stop when the light is red.
Yeah.
And so that is where we left off. We're waiting on those signs and we're waiting on that project.
So the plan is between now and then, put the sign, no right turn on red. Right?
It's to stop here on red. So it'll tell people that you have to stop at the stop bar when the light is red, and then once they've stopped, if it's clear, they can go even if it is a red light. Because the red light governs those going straight, not those making that right-hand turn. And that's
Yes.
where the confusion is.
That's true, but the oncoming traffic that they want to make a left turn to Old Topanga, it's going to be green. When the ongoing from north to south, it's red. So all the ones that want to take a turn right, that's the problem, because the the left turners, they will turn left, and if the right turn says, okay, I can turn right, that's where the problem is.
Correct, and that's
They
back to
have
that
to stop.
caveat.
Maybe you have to put some sort of a sign, no turn on red.
So that does
That
go back
creates
to
some
that caveat
backup
that-
traffic, but
I think the stop here on red will
Yes,
accomplish that
because-
in the
yeah.
interim.
okay.
Because they have to ensure that it's clear before they can proceed. And so if
Okay.
people are making that left-hand turn, it's not clear, they won't proceed.
But I think in general, we agree, and so it's on our list of things to do, and it's,
Yeah,
just
that-
give us some time to
Yeah.
get into the next project.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Pichai. Student Commissioner Goldfarb.
Yes, hi. So we have lots of wonderful projects in the works, and I don't know if we have funding for anything else, but maybe if we could look into filling some potholes on Parkway Calabasas. Past the roundabout, if you're driving up to the Oaks or Park Estates, there's three potholes in the middle of the road that you just have to navigate if you don't want to bump into them. So I don't know if we have the funding to do that, but later, if it's possible, maybe, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we will talk about that with the maintenance team. Thanks for
Okay.
letting us know.
It's not for safety, but just, yeah, driving, yeah. And then, thank you. Also, now are we able to talk about the street signs? Is that for a future time? Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So just requesting, what exactly are you requesting to be on the agenda in the future?
Well, I don't know. I'm new to this. I don't know how we get the project started or if it's a possibility to start it. So can I motion? I don't know if I can motion to talk about the approval of this street signs.
Do you have locations in mind? And do you have the type of sign and graphics already in mind or developed at any point?
Not specifically, but maybe by next meeting I can maybe make a presentation with the graphics and what I would like it to say, locations and all of the above.
Yep.
Maybe present that.
Perfect.
If
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
possible.
I
Could we
think-
agendize that?
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Okay.
exactly it.
Thank you all so much.
So that would be kind of a workshop,
Yeah.
sounds like.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
For Student Commissioner Goldfarb, I think it's a great idea what you're doing, and I think anytime someone starts a new project, they have to be passionate about it, and you obviously are. So I think you're the right person, and I think we're all going to be behind you to support you as much as we can on that. So if you don't mind, I would just like to throw out a couple things, so as you collect all your information for the next one, Curtis addressed it earlier that we don't want to overpollute the city with signs, so we do come up with strategic locations, for that. But I would be curious in seeing what our current stats are through the sheriff's department of crashes or citations for distracted driving. So as your project moves forward, we can demonstrate the effectiveness of it. So we can show where we've been and maybe set some goals where we want to get to that are reasonable, which I'm sure you'll be doing with the sheriff's department, but maybe you can address that in your presentation.
Definitely. I'll find all the statistics and I'll find the best locations and ideas for signs, the
Great.
parts of the city. I'll get
Thank you.
to the bottom of it.
All right. Thank you and good luck. Yeah.
And if
Thank
you
you.
need any help, we do very similar work, so just
Okay.
let me know.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Good for
I'm
you.
excited to get started.
Us as well. I second your thought on that, Commissioner Smith. So can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting to July 22nd?
Motion to adjourn the meeting until July 22nd.
Second.
All right.